Chapter 12 of the Pathfinder. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. This recording is by Mark Smith of Simpsonville, South Carolina. The Pathfinder by James Fenimore Cooper. Chapter 12. Lo, dusky masses steal in dubious sight along the leaguered wall and bristling bank of the armed river, while with straggling light the stars peep through the vapor, dim and dank. Attributed to Byron. A few hours later, Mabel Dunham was on the bastion that overlooked the river and the lake, seemingly in deep thought. The evening was calm and soft, and the question had arisen whether the party for the 1,000 Islands would be able to get out that night or not, on account of the total absence of wind. The stores, arms, and ammunition were already shipped, and even Mabel's effects were on board, but the small draft of men that was to go was still ashore, there being no apparent prospect of the cutters getting under way. Jasper had warped the Scud out of the cove, and so far up the stream as to enable him to pass through the outlet of the river whenever he chose, but there he still lay, riding at single anchor. The drafted men were lounging about the shore of the cove, undecided whether or not to pull off. The sports of the morning had left a quiet in the garrison which was in harmony with the whole of the beautiful scene, and Mabel felt its influence on her feelings, though probably too little accustomed to speculate on such sensations to be aware of the cause. Everything near appeared lovely and soothing, while the solemn grandeur of the silent forest and placid expanse of the lake lent a sublimity that other scenes might have wanted. For the first time, Mabel felt the hold that the towns and civilization had gained on her habits sensibly weakened, and the warm-hearted girl began to think that a life passed amid objects such as those around her might be happy. How far the experience of the last days came in aid of the calm and holy eventide, and contributed towards producing that young conviction, may be suspected, rather than affirmed, in this early portion of our legend. "A charming sunset, Mabel," said the hearty voice of her uncle, so close to the ear of our heroine as to cause her to start. "A charming sunset, girl, for a freshwater concern, though we should think but little of it at sea." "And is not nature the same on shore or at sea, on a lake like this or on the ocean? Does not the sun shine on all alike, dear uncle? And can we not feel gratitude for the blessings of Providence as strongly on this remote frontier as in our own Manhattan?" "The girl has fallen in with some of her mother's books. Is not nature the same, indeed? Now, Mabel, do you imagine that the nature of a soldier is the same as that of a seafaring man? You have relations in both callings, and ought to be able to answer." "But, uncle, I mean human nature." "So do I, girl. The human nature of a seaman, and the human nature of one of those fellows of the 55th, not even excepting your own father. Here have they had a shooting match, target firing I should call it, this day, and what a different thing has it been from a target firing afloat. There we should have sprung out our broadside, sported with round shot, at an object half a mile off at the very nearest, and the potatoes, if there happened to be any on board, as very likely would not have been the case, would have been left in the cook's coppers. It may be an honorable calling, that of a soldier, Mabel, but an experienced hand sees many follies and weaknesses in one of these forts. As for that bit of a lake, you know my opinion of that already, and I wish to disparage nothing. No real seafarer disparages anything, but damn me if I regard this here Ontario, as they call it, as more than so much water in a ship's scuttle-butt. Now look you here, Mabel, if you wish to understand the difference between the ocean and a lake, I can make you comprehend it with a single look. This is what one may call a calm, seeing that there is no wind, though, to own the truth, I do not think the calms are as calm as them we get outside."
"Uncle, there is not a breath of air. I do not think it possible for the leaves to be more immovably still than those of the entire forest are at this very moment." Leaves? What are leaves, child? There are no leaves at sea. If you wish to know whether it is a dead calm or not, try a mould candle. Your dip's flaring too much, and then you may be certain whether there is or is not any wind. If you were in a latitude where the air was so still that you found a difficulty in stirring it to draw it in breathing, you might fancy it a calm. People are often on a short allowance of air in the calm latitudes. Here again, look at that water. It is like milk in a pan, with no more motion now than there is in a full hogshead before the bung is started. On the ocean the water is never still, let the air be as quiet as it may.
The water of the ocean never still, Uncle Cap, not even in a calm?
Bless your heart, no, child. The ocean breathes like a living being, and its bosom is always heaving, as the poetsers call it, though there be no more air than there is to be found in a siphon. No man ever saw the ocean still like this lake, but it heaves and sets as if it had lungs.
And this lake is not absolutely still, for you perceive there is a little ripple on the shore, and you may even hear the surf plunging at moments against the rocks.
All damned poetry! Lake Ontario is no more the Atlantic than a Powell's Hook Periagila is a first-rate. That Jasper, notwithstanding, is a fine lad, and wants instruction only to make a man of him.
Do you think him ignorant, uncle? Answered Mabel, prettily adjusting her hair, in order to do which she was obliged, or fancied she was obliged, to turn away her face. To me Jasper Eau douce appears to know more than most of the young men of his class. He has read but little, for books are not plenty in this part of the world, but he has thought much, at least, so it seems to me, for one so young.
He is ignorant, as all must be who navigate an inland water like this. No, no, Mabel, we both owe something to Jasper and the Pathfinder, and I have been thinking how I can best serve them, for I hold ingratitude to be the vice of a hog. For treat the animal to your own dinner, and he would eat you for the dessert.
Very true, dear uncle. We ought indeed to do all we can to express our proper sense of the services of both these brave men.
Spoken like your mother's daughter, girl, and in a way to do credit to the Cap family. Now, I've hit upon a traverse that will just suit all parties, and as soon as we get back from this little expedition down the lake among them there 1,000 islands, and I am ready to return, it is my intention to propose it.
Dearest uncle, this is so considerate in you, and will be so just. May I ask what your intentions are?
I see no reason for keeping them a secret from you, Mabel, though nothing need be said to your father about them, for the Sergeant has his prejudices, and might throw difficulties in the way. Neither Jasper nor his friend Pathfinder can ever make anything hereabouts, and I propose to take both with me down to the coast, and get them fairly afloat. Jasper would find his sea legs in a fortnight, and a 12-month voyage would make him a man, although Pathfinder might take more time, or never get to be rated able. Yet one could make something of him, too, particularly as a lookout, for he has unusually good eyes.
Uncle, do you think either would consent to this? Said Mabel, smiling.
Do I suppose them simpletons? What rational being would neglect his own advancement? Let Jasper alone to push his way, and the lad may yet die the master of some square-rigged craft.
And would he be any the happier for it, dear uncle? How much better is it to be the master of a square-rigged craft than to be the master of a round-rigged craft?
Pooh, pooh, Magnet! You are just fit to read lectures about ships before some hysterical society. You don't know what you're talking about. Leave these things to me, and they'll be properly managed. Ha! Here is the Pathfinder himself, and I may just as well drop him a hint of my benevolent intentions as regards himself. Hope is a great encourager of our exertions."
Cap nodded his head, and then ceased to speak, while the hunter approached, not with his usual frank and easy manner, but in a way to show that he was slightly embarrassed, if not distrustful of his reception.
"Uncle and niece make a family party," said Pathfinder, when near the two, "and a stranger